morning, good afternoon, good day, everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of the GVU. This is a continuation of our In Conversation With, and we have a new topic today. Even though we have In Conversation With and we have a new guest, the topic of our last couple videos has been Apex Cloud Platform for Microsoft Azure. Well, we just released and is now generally available for the public a new solution in the Apex Cloud Platform family, the Apex Cloud Platform for Red Hat OpenShift. And joining us today in the studio is our good friend and colleague, Kevin Jones. Kevin, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey.
Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about your background, what you do for Dell, and how long you've been around? You know, just give us give the viewers a little taste of who you are.
Yeah, sure. I joined Dell back in 2010. So I was on the legacy Dell side of things, not the legacy EMC side of things. Done various jobs while I've been here. Initially, I was focusing on the PowerEdge servers, and then slowly moved across and started doing stuff on PowerFlex. And now I'm in the GEOS team focusing on ACP, predominantly for OpenShift. So yeah, I've always had quite a strong background in open source technologies, so working with Linux and that kind of thing. So it's almost a natural fit.
Awesome. So now with this general availability of the ACP or Apex Cloud Platform for Red Hat OpenShift, we continue on the common building blocks that we've talked about in our other videos. And those common building blocks are common building blocks for compute, for storage, and for the M&O software layer, right? For the management and operation layer with the Apex Cloud Platform foundation software solution in place on top of the ACP for Red Hat OpenShift. With those common building blocks, right, and we're going to be calling the common building blocks for the storage to be Dell SDS. The common building blocks for the compute will be based on the PowerEdge platform, the 16-gen PowerEdge platform, if I'm not mistaken. Those are going to be called the MC660 and the MC760. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to have the overarching management layer with the Apex Cloud Platform Foundation software. Now, Kevin, you are focused on ACP for Red Hat OpenShift, and this is really a continuation of a partnership we've already had with Red Hat, right? So
yeah.
We've done some things with Red Hat in the past, but I believe this is the first of this type of solution. Can you tell us a little bit about what you think and where we've come from with Red Hat and where we are right now?
Yeah, I think, but going back over the years, we've offered Red Hat as an operating system on our PowerEdge servers. You could buy Red Hat or Red Hat Enterprise Linux and just standard Red Hat Linux before that, and a number of other Red Hat subscriptions. So I think we used to sell things like satellite server and that kind of thing as well to go alongside. But yeah, we've had reference architectures. So reference architectures for things like OpenStack and OpenShift previously. But yeah, as you say, this is really the first full-blown hardware integration where we've done engineering in the factory. Previously it was kind of we developed scripts to make things easier, but now this is full. We do the deployment. We've got an integration back into the management, the GUI management interface for OpenShift. So it's there as a solution to make, hopefully, almost to join the sort of the software approach to things with our hardware infrastructure approach, is the way I look at it. I've always I'm an infrastructure guy. I've always found infrastructure where I like to work with, but there's lots of software people out there who hardware, I'm not going to say they're scared of it, but it's always been an area where they just use the hardware and they put the software on, and I feel that we are trying to bridge that gap here, and we're making their lives now. And one of the reasons I like to think is that if something goes wrong, things always go wrong at some point in time. There's always been that, well, is it the software, is it the hardware? And various fingers get pointed and all that kind of thing. We've kind of made it now that if you're running OpenShift, you can see if suddenly a node goes down, has it crashed? Is it a bug check or something within the software. But no, you can now go and look at the interface. Oh, no, the server's down, or power supply is broken, or someone's unplugged it, or something like that. So that to me is the main benefit from us doing this, over and above the automation of deployment and the patching and all the rest of it. So yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, great. So as you mentioned, we're kind of transitioning from the DIY to the full turnkey solution. But still a lot of customers would like to understand kind of what's behind the surface. Could you maybe talk a bit around the architecture? Because I think the architecture, we have the building blocks, but it's slightly different than the Azure offering. So it'd be great if you can maybe explain the different components and how it works.
Well, yeah, it's still Dell PowerEdge servers under the surface, but what engineering have done is, taken the bare components of the server and built in an automated, built in a capability that's on the servers when they leave the factory, so that when you bring up the server for the first time, you are going to be confronted with a menu, answer some basic questions, and it'll be then, rather than you having to give it media, pull things from the internet, wherever you're going to pull them from, it's all built in, and it's going to do that for you. But once the basic deployment has happened, there's going to be software running within the servers to provide that integration from the OpenShift software into the hardware components of the PowerEdge server. Now, most of that happens through the iDRAC. The iDRAC is always the brains of the PowerEdge servers. As I said, I spent many years working with PowerEdge, so I know a lot about how that works. But that's where it's going to be pulling the information from. Things like updates, firmware updates, BIOS updates. All of that is driven through the iDRAC itself. But and you mentioned the Azure offering as well. And the Azure offering, all that software runs as a virtual machine. In OpenShift, it's a container-based platform. So we run the foundation software as containers within OpenShift itself. And I think that's the fundamental difference. It's all running there. You can go to OpenShift, you can see all those containers that are running. Start them if you want to, please don't. But it's there. So we have an integration that is native, really. So we're not kind of layering something on. When we delivered the validated platform, which was kind of the precursor to where we are now, we used OpenShift virtualization to provide virtual machines for managing things like storage. We've moved away from that. We've now made it much more native to within OpenShift itself.
So when you say native, we're talking bare metal, right? So we're not running on top of another virtualization layer.
No hypervisor at all.
And the benefit here is you don't have to pay for any additional virtualization licenses.
Yeah.
The other benefit that we talked about, we mentioned it, you touched on it, but this is an on-prem solution, right? So most of the time, OpenShift is deployed in the cloud, and this allows customers to bring this deployment to be on premises, right?
Yeah.
And it gives them the.
Why do you think most of them are in the cloud? I think it goes back to my previous argument that a lot of software people are wary of infrastructure. The cloud makes it easy. So we are now taking that easy button and bring it back into the data center or into their colo, wherever they want to run it. And I think that's one of another one of the benefits of the ACP for OpenShift. That ability to click a button like you do in the cloud, but you're now clicking the button on your own hardware that you own. And that's a big thing.
So what version of, sorry, Ben, what version of Red Hat are we talking about here at OpenShift? What are we?
We're using OpenShift 4.13 at the initial release.
Initial release 4.13.
A minor patch on the end of it, but that's the version we're pre-tested on, and we'll have a cadence for updating we'll work closely with Red Hat so that when they have 4.14, 4.15, 4.16, etc., I'm assuming that's the numbers they'll follow, we will have a known good state based around those versions. So there might be minor versions in between. We will also have a known good state around, but the cadence will be to make sure that we have a good known platform, that we've tested all the components, not just the software, but also things that, the iDRAC code, the BIOS code, the HPA drivers, the NIC drivers, firmware in the NICs. This is a complex, lots of bits joined together. And maybe that's why the software guys are wary of the hardware. They see all these versions and things, and oh, how on earth do I keep all that up to date? Well, we've taken that pain away from them.
Right, and as you said, we took this pain away to offer on-premise similar experience than in the cloud. But actually, how can customers actually manage the solution? How is our integration working? What kind of tools would they use to manage the environment?
Well, again, this is the beauty, that they can do it pretty much a lot, well, not everything, but the vast majority of things they can now do from within the OpenShift console itself. So you get a graphical representation of each server, and you'll see whether it's in a good state. You can see whether the power's supplying correctly, whether there's a disk broken, that kind of thing. But also from within that same interface, you can set up phone home. So the servers, if you want the servers to call back to us at Dell if there's a problem, you can set it up from within the graphical interface as well. And also there'll be there are links, hot links within the interface to fire up the iDRAC, for instance. If you actually want to go and look into the iDRAC itself and see some specifics of the server, and of course the storage as well, because we're using Dell SDS, which there's no secret, it's powered by Dell PowerFlex underneath. So we'll have hot linking from within the interface, within the OpenShift graphical interface, to fire up the storage as well. But you shouldn't, we shouldn't need to be necessarily going in and managing the storage, because when it comes to Kubernetes and OpenShift specifically, storage management kind of goes away, because you're using the CSI, which is automation of storage provisioning. Now, you're no longer needing a storage administrator to create a volume for you to then present to you, so you can store your workload on it, like traditionally you would with a bare metal operating system, or maybe a virtualized operating system. It's all, again, I use my word, automatically happens in the background. It produces a volume, a persistent volume claim, and then a persistent volume, which you then use for your workloads, for your virtualized, for your container workload.
So as you mentioned, the capability to see the nodes in a graphical manner, the capability to do and check out the iDRAC, or initiate a link and launch for the iDRAC or for the SDS manager, et cetera. This is all done from an interface that the customers are already used to.
No,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. They should, if they're an OpenShift user, they should be familiar with that interface. And we're just another little line in the drop down in the left hand side. It's there.
Yeah, so that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely, completely.
Nothing additional to learn. It's interface that you're already used to. You have a new section of the interface, and you get some additional information in that section and capabilities. You can add nodes, expand this, do things for storage. You can do things for lifecycle. All the things that have made, for lack of a better term, the hyperconverged infrastructure space a success that it is today, right? Being that easy button. Now, you mentioned PowerFlex. What if a customer already has PowerFlex? Does this have to be a brand new deployment of ACP all around? And what does a minimum configuration sort of look like?
No, if they're an existing PowerFlex customer, they can buy ACP compute nodes and just connect them to their existing PowerFlex, and it'll just consume PowerFlex just as a storage. If they are buying a net new ACP and don't have PowerFlex, then they buy compute nodes and they buy storage nodes, and then we join them together. And if you buy in that model, then the services, the deployment services that comes with ACP will deploy the compute and it will deploy the storage. So
So
it's a bundled solution.
The easier approach is to buy it all together, because then, you know, if you already have an existing investment in PowerFlex, and that's great, but there's probably other applications and stuff running on PowerFlex. So managing the solution from a holistic perspective and being able to want to life cycle as one becomes difficult when you have other non-ACP applications that you now have to account for on that storage. So I would assume that the full-blown purchase of the ACP compute nodes and the ACP SDS combined together is the better way to go for most customers.
Yeah, I would say so. Certainly moving forward, as the integration becomes even tighter between storage and compute nodes. At the moment, there's a little bit of distance between them, but not too much. But as we move forward, there definitely will be much tighter integration between ACP compute and ACP storage. And you know, even I've referred to link and launch type approach, that would likely go away, and it'll be much more joined, and the storage management will quite potentially be within the OpenShift console as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, that whole let's bring it together as one is definitely on the agenda.
Right. And for the compute node and the storage nodes, what would be the minimum cluster size? And maybe can you maybe
It's
talk
4 compute and 4 storage.
Okay. Can you maybe talk about why it is 4 and 4?
The storage, PowerFlex has always, well, been 4 nodes as the minimum for some time. Technically it can run on 3, but there's a number of good reasons not to run on 3. From the compute side of things, the reason it's 4 is because we use one of the 4 nodes as the deployment node to create a 3 node, which is really a minimum OpenShift cluster, and then we add that 4th node into the cluster as another worker node. Yeah, you could, if you were doing it manually, deliver just a 3 node compute cluster, but because we're automating it, making it easier, we make it 4 nodes. But no, you have to buy switches as well. We always need the string to join things together.
Okay, Kevin, you know, this information I think is definitely beneficial to all our listeners out there, especially those that are running Red Hat OpenShift and want to bring that containerized solution on-prem and take advantage of all the things that you just talked about. Now, from a application perspective, does this solution hinder any applications that the customer would normally run on Red Hat OpenShift, or does it even invite any additional application possibilities onto the platform?
It certainly doesn't hinder anything, because under the hood it's just OpenShift. You know,
right.
We are just enhancing it by adding, you know, ability to understand the hardware and the infrastructure that's running underneath. We do the licensing, or the OpenShift subscription that we supply is Platform Plus. So that offers advanced cluster management and some other quite, you know, nice security features within the OpenShift platform. So and you know, as if a customer is already using just vanilla Kubernetes, there could be some some enhancements by going to this OpenShift environment purely for things like security. Red Hat's approach to Kubernetes is to always enhance it. But you know, vanilla Kubernetes is pretty simple. If you want any of the niceties, you've got to manually add them, and it's complex. Whereas OpenShift, you know, it does all that for you. It adds all those extra features, and you know, it's attractive because security is top of mind for everyone at the moment. It's one of the things that literally keeps people awake at night, because of, you know, no one wants to get hacked, really. I don't. So yeah, I'm probably a long way of answering your question. It shouldn't make a blind bit of difference to running an environment in standard OpenShift to running on our platform, just with the added advantages that we also, because of the storage, are offering a very high performing block storage platform for them to connect to.
Well, awesome. Kevin, I know you're busy. I do appreciate, Ben and I do appreciate you joining us today. Ben, any additional questions or comments for Kevin before we close this out?
No, I think it was amazing, and thanks for sharing additional details. And we will make sure we put all of the launch information in the description of the video. And yeah, thanks again for joining us today, Kevin.
No problem.
Thanks again, Kevin. And for all our viewers, please like, subscribe, comment down below anything that you'd like to see Ben and I do, or any conversations you'd like for us to have with other individuals, or just conversations in general. Please put it in the comments down below. We're happy to read your comments, and we try to respond whenever we can. And again, thank you everyone, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.